Class 8. Physics. Chapter 9. Friction, textbook solutions, extra questions, and real-life questions. Textbook solutions. 1. Fill in the blanks. A. Friction opposes the relative motion between the surfaces in contact with each other. B. Friction depends on the nature of surfaces. C. Friction produces heat. D. Sprinkling of powder on the carom board reduces friction. E. Sliding friction is less than the static friction. 2. 4 children were asked to arrange forces due to rolling, static, and sliding frictions in a decreasing order. Their arrangements are given below. Choose the correct arrangement. A. Rolling, static, sliding. B. Rolling, sliding, static. C. Static, sliding, rolling. D. Sliding, static, rolling. Answer is C. Static, sliding, rolling. Explanation. Static friction is the highest because it acts when there is no motion, and it resists the initiation of movement. Sliding friction is less than static friction as it occurs when an object is already in motion. Rolling friction is the least because rolling reduces the contact area between surfaces, making it easier to move objects. 3. Alita runs her toy car on dry marble floor, wet marble floor, newspaper and towel spread on the floor. The force of friction acting on the car on different surfaces in increasing order will be A. Wet marble floor, dry marble floor, newspaper and towel. B. Newspaper, towel, dry marble floor, wet marble floor. C. Towel, newspaper, dry marble floor, wet marble floor. D. Wet marble floor, dry marble floor, towel, newspaper. Answer is A. Wet marble floor, dry marble floor, newspaper and towel. Here is how. Wet marble floor has the least friction because it is smooth and slippery. Dry marble floor has slightly more friction than the wet marble floor. Newspaper offers more friction than marble surfaces due to its texture. Towel provides the highest friction because of its rough and uneven surface. Suppose your writing desk is tilted a little. A book kept on it starts sliding down. Show the direction of frictional force acting on it. Answer is, the frictional force always acts opposite to the direction of motion. If the book is sliding down the tilted desk, the frictional force will act upwards along the surface of the desk, opposing the book's motion. This force tries to resist the sliding motion and slows down the book. 5. You spill a bucket of soapy water on a marble floor accidentally. Would it make it easier or more difficult for you to walk on the floor? Why? Spilling soapy water on a marble floor would make it more difficult to walk because the soapy water reduces the friction between your feet and the floor. Friction provides the grip needed to walk without slipping. When the floor is covered with soapy water, it becomes slippery, decreasing the friction and making it harder to maintain balance, which increases the risk of slipping. 6. Explain why sportsmen use shoes with spikes. Answer is, the spikes on sports shoes are designed to increase friction between the athlete's foot and the ground. This helps them to get a better grip and prevents them from slipping, which is important for sports like running, jumping, and throwing 7. Iqbal has to push a lighter box, and Seema has to push a similar, heavier box on the same floor. Who will have to apply a larger force and why? Answer is Seema will have to apply a larger force because a heavier box has more weight, which increases the force of friction between the box and the floor. Friction depends on the normal force, which is greater for heavier objects. 8. Explain why sliding friction is less than static friction. Sliding friction is less than static friction because when an object is at rest, surface irregularities lock together tightly, requiring more force to start movement. Once the object starts sliding, these irregularities don't lock as much, so less force is needed to keep it moving. 9. Give examples to show that friction is both a friend and a foe. Friction is both helpful, a friend, and harmful, a foe. Let's explore this balance with examples. Friction as a friend. Walking. Friction between your feet and the ground keeps you from slipping. Writing. Friction between a pencil or pen and paper helps you write clearly. Driving. Friction between tires and the road allows vehicles to move and stop safely. Friction as a foe. Wear and tear. Friction causes parts of machines to wear out, like gears and shoes. Wasted energy. In machines, friction converts useful energy into heat, reducing efficiency. Overheating. Friction in engines or machinery generates unwanted heat, which can damage parts. 10. Explain why objects moving in fluids must have special shapes. Objects moving in fluids need special, streamlined shapes to reduce resistance, drag, and allow smooth movement. These shapes minimize turbulence and help fluids flow easily around the object, making movement more efficient. For example, fish, airplanes, and cars are designed this way to move faster and use less energy. Extra questions. 1. What is friction? Friction is the force that resists the motion of one object sliding over another. It is caused by the microscopic irregularities on the surfaces of the objects in contact. 2. What are the different types of friction? The different types of friction are static friction, the force that prevents an object from starting to move. Sliding friction, the force that resists the motion of an object sliding over a surface. Rolling friction, the force that resists the motion of a rolling object. Fluid friction, the force that resists the motion of an object moving through a fluid. 3. How can friction be increased? Friction can be increased by making the surfaces in contact rougher, increasing the force pressing the surfaces together, using a substance with a higher coefficient of friction. 4. How can friction be reduced? Friction can be reduced by making the surfaces in contact smoother, reducing the force pressing the surfaces together, using a lubricant, using ball bearings. 5. What are some of the advantages of friction? Some of the advantages of friction are: it allows us to walk and run. It allows us to write and draw. It allows us to grip objects. It allows us to stop moving objects. 6. What are some of the disadvantages of friction? Some of the disadvantages of friction are: it causes wear and tear on moving parts. It wastes energy. It can make it difficult to move objects. 7. How does friction affect the motion of a car? Friction affects the motion of a car in several ways. The tires of the car must have enough friction with the road to prevent the car from skidding. The brakes of the car use friction to slow the car down. The engine of the car must overcome friction to turn the wheels. 8. How does friction affect the motion of a bicycle? Friction affects the motion of a bicycle in several ways. The tires of the bicycle must have enough friction with the road to prevent the bicycle from skidding. The brakes of the bicycle use friction to slow the bicycle down. The chain of the bicycle must have enough friction with the gears to turn the wheels. 9. How does friction affect the motion of a boat? Friction affects the motion of a boat in several ways. The hull of the boat must have enough friction with the water to prevent the boat from sinking. The propeller of the boat must have enough friction with the water to push the boat forward. The rudder of the boat must have enough friction with the water to steer the boat. 10. How does friction affect the motion of an airplane? Friction affects the motion of an airplane in several ways. The wings of the airplane must have enough friction with the air to generate lift. The fuselage of the airplane must have enough friction with the air to resist the force of drag. The engines of the airplane must have enough friction with the air to push the airplane forward. Real-life questions. 1. Why is it difficult to walk on a wet, icy sidewalk? Wet, icy sidewalks are slippery because there is very little friction between your shoes and the ice. This makes it difficult to keep your balance and can lead to falls. 2. How do brakes help you stop your bicycle? When you apply the brakes on your bicycle, they create friction between the brake pads and the wheels. This friction slows down the wheels and eventually stops the bicycle. 3. Why do cars have tires with tread? The tread on car tires helps to increase friction between the tires and the road. This helps to prevent the car from skidding, especially on wet or icy roads. 4. Why does it take more effort to push a heavy box across a carpeted floor than across a smooth, hardwood floor? Carpet has a rougher surface than hardwood, which creates more friction between the box and the floor. This means it takes more force to overcome the friction and move the box. 5. Why is it easier to slide down a slide than to climb up it? When you slide down a slide, Gravity pulls you down and friction helps you to move. When you climb up a slide, you have to overcome both gravity and friction, which makes it more difficult. 6. How does friction affect the way you play video games? Friction between your fingers and the controller buttons helps you to accurately control the game. If there was no friction, your fingers would slip on the buttons and you wouldn't be able to play the game properly. 7. Why do astronauts need special suits to walk on the moon? The moon has no atmosphere, which means there is no air to protect astronauts from the sun's harmful radiation. Astronaut suits provide a protective environment for astronauts to survive in the harsh conditions of space. 8. Why do fish have scales? Fish scales help to reduce friction between the fish and the water, which helps them to swim more easily. 9. Why do airplanes have a streamlined shape? Airplanes are designed to be streamlined to reduce air resistance, or drag. Drag is a type of friction that opposes the motion of an object moving through a fluid, such as air. A streamlined shape helps to reduce drag, which makes it easier for an airplane to fly. 10. How does friction help you write with a pencil? Friction between the pencil tip and the paper allows the graphite from the pencil to leave a mark on the paper. Without friction, the pencil would simply slide across the paper without leaving any trace. 11. A boat comes to rest when someone stops rowing it. Why? A boat comes to rest when someone stops rowing it because of friction. Friction is a force that opposes motion between two surfaces in contact. When you row a boat, you are applying a force to the water with your oars. This force pushes the water backward, which in turn pushes the boat forward. However, the water also exerts a frictional force on the boat, which slows it down. Once you stop rowing, the only force acting on the boat is the frictional force from the water. This force eventually brings the boat to a stop. 12th, why do sea divers wear specially designed clothes? Sea divers wear specially designed clothes to protect them from the harsh underwater environment, help them stay warm, maintain neutral buoyancy, and allow them to breathe underwater. These clothes are called wetsuits or dry suits. Facing challenges with the real-life questions? Don't worry. Start by understanding the question clearly. For short answers, keep it simple and concise. If it's a high-mark question, connect it to the topic and explain in detail. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos. Doubts, suggestions?